Okay, thank you again for staying with us on your ultimate news and current affairs program on television this morning on ITV. We call it TMI. Right now, right away, we go straight into the heart of our major talking point on the show this lovely Monday morning. Yeah, efforts have been made in the past to amend certain sections of the Constitution. Interestingly, what has become of those amendments, we really don't know. But we're hoping that this time around, all these efforts will lead to a result that will impact on governance and strengthen constitutional democratic practice in Nigeria. There are some ill feelings towards the ongoing amendment of the Constitution. All of that will distill into the conversation this beautiful Monday morning. Let me thank our panelists joining us here in the studio and via Zoom. Idris Zakari Jr. is a public affairs commentator, a young politician. He's also a scientist. Thank you for joining us on the program TMI.
Thank you for having me this morning. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Okay, we also have joining us via Zoom the President of Freedom of Information Council, Barrister Prest Aigbohan, joining us live from Abuja. Barrister Prest, thank you for joining us on TMI.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, let's begin the conversation by looking at the import, the intent behind the amendment, the ongoing amendments in the Constitution. There is a feeling that, well, because of the challenges bedeviling the country right now, this perhaps may just be a distraction to take people's attention away from the core issues and all of that. So let's start with you, Idris Zakari.
If it is a distraction, then it's a welcome distraction. The reason I say so is because with the way things are going in this country now, we really do need to be distracted. There need to be distraction. If people are dying and terrorists are running wild, kidnappers are running wild, insecurity is on the front burner, and there's something to distract us from those issues that will make those things stop, then the distraction becomes a good thing. Okay. But constitutional amendment, I think, is important. It's an important process of every democracy. It's a very, very important process of every democracy. The U.S. Constitution is over 250 years old, and they have amended, I think, 29 or 30 times, if I'm correct. It then means that we, as a nation, we need to continue to amend our constitution to reflect the new realities in the country. And the realities as of today is that we can no longer continue with a centralized police force. We can no longer continue with states having to go to Abuja every month end, cap in hand, to collect salaries so that they can in turn pay their own salaries. We need a system where it is a bottom-top approach, not a top-bottom approach. So the Constitution should take all those into cognizance and amend along those lines. So the constitutional amendment is an important, important activity in our today's life in Nigeria. So I don't see it as a distraction at all. If it is a good distraction, and I think it's something we should encourage. But the honesty behind the amendment is always what we have questioned. You must do more than you say and say less than you do. So you must not say more than you do. So the problem we've had over time is that these legislators sit in Abuja, say more than they do, promise all these flowery and rosy things, and then end up achieving very little until the lifespan of that assembly expires.
Okay, let's get Barrister Prest Aigbohan to respond to my earlier question. I asked Idris Zakari. Barrister Prest, is this a mere distraction, the ongoing constitutional amendment?
I don't agree that it's a distraction. The legislators are doing their constitutional duty, which is to make laws, and they have to amend the laws as it develops. We must also give them that credence that they are making a law for the country as their primary responsibility. And what we are used to with the legislators is that we see them doing oversighting, that is going to MDAs to see how they are progressing with their projects or implementing budgets. But that is not their primary duty. Their primary duty is to make laws. And Constitution at this stage of the work is that they are adjusting the Constitution as it may deem fit, and later on, I'm sure they will also go to the street to meet the citizens, for citizens to have their input. But it's a stage-by-stage affair. And the current intervention of the National Assembly is something that we should applaud. Somebody may be bothered to say, why are they not interested in the killings? But I think that the basic thing that can forestall killings in Nigeria is to amend the Constitution, where citizens anywhere in the country can be a citizen of anywhere in the country.
Okay.
Not as it is today, where there are citizenship as per state allocations. So we must give them that credence and support them to amend this Constitution and perhaps bring it before the public debate and then adopt it. We started the same exercise some years ago. It was aborted by unnecessary distractions, commentary, and debate. And the budget of those projects just died like that. There was no outcome for the whole exercise. So we must cooperate with the National Assembly to see that there is a new constitution for us, a new constitution that brings us together, a new constitution that absorbs us as a nation, a new constitution that will abolish federal character and uphold merit, a new constitution that will make us see ourselves as one, a new constitution that will reduce minority, a new constitution that will bridge the gap of non-inclusiveness. I think we should support the National Assembly in this ongoing exercise.
Mr. President, what do you make of the talks in some quarters that the real problem is not about amending the Constitution, but put it to practice what is in the Constitution? If we would implement or act on some of the provisions in the Constitution, we'll probably make more progress than we have made. What do you make of this?
Yes, there's a role of citizenship in this whole gamut of what we call constitutionalism. And I can say categorically that our problem is not laws. Our problem is implementation of these laws. Implementation, not from the side of the state actors, but implementation from the side of the non-state actors. We are not putting the laws to play. So if they are complaining that it's not about amending the laws, they are just complaining about themselves. It's like somebody telling you that it's not just about food and he has not eaten. It's the problem, not the food, not the seller. I'm getting it now. So it is a citizenship gap that we are not active enough to use our laws. Are you getting it?
Yes.
So that does not mean that the Constitution should not be amended. Take, for instance, a provision of the law that says that the armed forces must recruit per federal character. Are you getting it now?
Yeah.
The Constitution did not say that armed forces leadership should also be appointed by federal character. So if you now adjust that provisions and add it, that armed forces should be appointed by federal character across the board, then you cannot challenge President Buhari to say why you are appointing from one section of the country. So our problem is still a problem of constitutional gaps. Are we getting it now?
Yeah.
So the small implementation that we have been able to do, we have seen the governance stress that we have done to it. When we did the prisoner right to vote case, we said our constitution says that every citizen can vote. And the prisoners, not citizens, the court agreed with us. So when you have a good constitution, you just need a fragile attempt of citizenship to activate it, and you get the work done.
Okay, you talk about the rights of citizens to vote. Was it there originally in the Constitution, or it came into enforcement by reason of the litigation that you instituted or your organization instituted?
Yes, what we are saying is that this Constitution says every citizen has a right to vote.
Okay.
We went to court and said the prisoners are citizens.
Okay.
The Constitution did not say that citizens who are under death row. In the US, the Constitution said felon citizens cannot vote. Felon citizens who have been adjudged to have committed an offense cannot vote. It is in the US Constitution. So the counsel to INEC was saying that in the US, where we are copied from, they don't allow prisoners to vote. We said the Constitution of the US said felon citizens cannot vote. That exception is not in our own Constitution. So the court agreed with us and activated the prisoners' right to vote.
Okay, Mr. President, I'll come back to you in a moment. Let me come to Idris. Yeah. They say the problem with Nigeria is not about the laws. It's about the implementation of those laws, the respect for those laws. I mean, Saturday was World Environment Day, bringing attention to the challenges of the environment. But we know that there are laws against polluting the environment, dumping waste in the environment and all of those things. But the enforcement is not there. Isn't that what we should be focusing on rather than amending the Constitution? How do we make these laws take effect and then get people punished for going against the law?
Well, the first thing is to have good laws. And when you have good laws, you now bother about the implementation of those laws. When you talk about people, laws not being implemented, that's where the political will comes in. Our people know how to circumvent every kind of law, especially our politicians. They are adept at it. They have been practicing since 1999, and they have become very adept at circumventing laws. Because they are so good at circumventing laws, it then means that no matter how good the laws you have changed, no matter how good they are, no matter how much you adjust the laws, the politicians will find a way around. I'll give you a classical example. There is a standing executive order that we should have legislative autonomy, we should have judicial autonomy in the state, just like we have in the federal. Our governors have refused to implement these laws. Because of that, judicial workers have been on strike for some months now. This particular example I'm giving to you now, is it as a result of no laws, or is it as a result of the attitude of our politicians, our selfish politicians? Selfish, because you cannot want to take both your powers and the powers of others. Now, you don't give judiciary financial autonomy. You want them to continue to tie themselves to you, to eat. You will not give legislature financial autonomy because you want them to be able to depend continuously on the governor to eat. But you want to get autonomy from the federal. You see the deception inside now. Now, the man who plays the piper dictates the tune. Any man who pays your bills tells you what to do. If he tells you to resume by 8, you will resume. If he tells you to close by 8, you will close. Now, why the governor, that's why you see them, they railroad all sort of evil bills and demonic agendas through the state assemblies because they control the state assembly. If you give the state assemblies autonomy, even if the governor sends something that is not acceptable, they will reject it. How can the governor possibly send a law to the state assembly without public hearing? They pass it. They send a bill to the state assembly without public hearing. They pass it as a law. That is demonic. It means that the law that you have just passed has no citizen participation. It is between the man in government house, who is the governor, and his friends in the state house of assembly, leaving out the majority of the people who the law is meant for.
I thought the people were elected to be represented there,
yes,
by the legislators.
When we elect you, let me give you a good. When we elect you to represent us, it then means that whatever you see where we have sent you to, you must come back to us to say, this law that we want to pass in the state house of assembly, how does it affect you? That's why you are seeing all the the National Assembly, all the zonal constitutional review committees. Go back to your village, talk to your people, and know their position on this matter. But when they give you that law and you pass it in the state house of assembly without coming back to us, you are on your own. That is the truth. You are on your own. So we need autonomy for all these various arms of government, especially in the state, because that is where they have choked them. We are not even talking about local government. There's no local government now. There's no local. The local government operates at the behest of the governor, or anyhow he wants it, that's the way he operates it. He operates like a private enterprise. All the governors across board, I'm not being partisan here. But for the state, because now we are looking at an era where we do a bottom-top approach, where we generate funds in the state, where we have state police, where we have all sorts of apparatus in the state. For those apparatus to function effectively, we need checks and balances. Okay. So you must give autonomy to key institutions of state, arms of government in their own right, so that when we give you this power, you do not abuse it. Imagine we have a state governor controlling the police, and also controlling the state house of assembly, and also controlling the judiciary. It then means the day the governor decides that he does not want you to continue marrying your wife, he will go to the court and ask them to dissolve your marriage because maybe you have abused your wife. He will find a reason to arrest you and put you in jail because he controls both the judiciary and the legislature. legislature. And if he's angry too much, he does not like a community, he can send a bill to the State House of Assembly, dissolving that community and adding it to another community. Those are the abuses that we are trying to avoid. Okay. So the state governors must first of all wash their own. I am always hammering on the state governor because governance starts, for me, governance starts at their level. Because there's no local government. So governance starts with them.
Okay.
So you must first of all put your house in order so that the federal government can see that you are ready to handle things the way they ought to be. You are not ready to abuse power.
Okay, so, let me pause it there. Mr. President Agboka, thanks again for staying with us on the program this morning on ITV. The constitutional review is ongoing. I mean, we've heard of zonal conferences, even in the National Assembly. We've also seen some level of engagement on the public hearings to see how the Constitution can be amended. But the chairman of the Constitution, Senator Omar Agege, recently said that the National Assembly does not have the powers to rewrite the Constitution. What is the position of the Constitution as it relates to the amendment of the Constitution in terms of the powers and limitations of the National Assembly?
The National Assembly has the power to take views of citizens, and that has already been ongoing during the public hearings. So those public hearings for positions will be taken down. And after those collations have been done, there's now a need for a referendum across some southwest, southeast regions.
Okay.
To affirm those provisions of the Constitution. Upon which the National Assembly can take it back and sanction it. Don't forget to run a representative democracy, and those who are elected are deemed to be representatives of all citizens. House of Assembly are deemed to represent those in their constituency. The House of Rep deemed to represent those in larger constituency. Senate deemed to represent those who have the largest constituency mapping.
Okay.
And so they are the executive arm of government, we are representatives. So every citizen must not come up to raise up his hand to endorse a law that has been passed.
Okay.
As long as you have been represented at that level, the accommodation and their comments and their adoption stance and supposedly representing your views. But if you have a different view as to what is ongoing, then you cannot make yourself available at various public hearings to make your opinion known. And when it is a minority opinion, it can be done away with.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Agboha. I'll come back to you shortly. Yes, Idris, yes, the position of the review chairman, Senator Omar Agege, on the powers of the National Assembly to rewrite the Constitution. A very legal luminary, Barrister Mark Ozekome, has said that the National Assembly has the powers to rewrite the Constitution because the power has been conferred on them by their election by the people.
The Ozekome's position mostly is I think, is partisan, but we must look at it bipartisanly, okay, so that we can make any form of progress. Omar Agege is a lawyer, and he's the Deputy Senate President today, and he knows exactly what he's talking about. For you to amend the Constitution, you need to amend Section 9 of the Constitution first. And for you to succeed with amending Section 9 of the Constitution, you need 4/5. 4/5. It then means if you have 100 members in the Senate, you need 80 to be able to pass this, to be able to amend Section 9 only. That Section 9 only that you have amended will now create the background for you to rewrite an entire Constitution. The question I ask is, why do we need to rewrite the Constitution when we can do amendments and the amendment will reflect the realities of today? Asking the National Assembly to rewrite the Constitution is because the National Assembly is a creation of the Constitution, is asking them to revolt against what created them. There is no such reality as something on top of nothing. So asking them to first of all vacate the present Constitution and rewrite it means that you are asking for chaos. Let the president vacate his seat, let the governors go home, let everybody just continue to live on their own like we are in Somalia. But we can do incremental adjustments like we are already doing. Every aspect of the Constitution can be amended. But you cannot vacate the 1999 Constitution. It's the grand norm. Are you going to take us back? I'm not a lawyer, so people have to sort of accept the way I put it. I am talking as a citizen who has tried to study and know what happens when you try to do certain things. Are we going to go back to 1999 and say, okay, we are writing a fresh Constitution when we are in 2021? It's unreasonable, it's not feasible. So when people come on air and they talk to the people, they must make sure that they inform and not confuse. There's a lot of confusion in the system. That's why you see people take popular opinion. And I've told myself over time that anything that is popular, I will not join majority to do evil. When majority are wrong, you must be bold enough to say, this position that majority has taken is not correct. So rewriting an entire constitution, I don't see how reasonable it is. Where are you going to start from?
Does the National Assembly have the powers to rewrite?
They do, but
Yes.
it is impractical. It is not a practical power. Imagine asking for fifth of the National Assembly of the Senate. It didn't stop there. You go to 4/5 of the House of Reps. You have amended Section 9 now. Then you now trickle it down. You now you want to rewrite the entire constitution. They now have the powers to do because they have been able to get 4/5. Not 2/3. 2/3 is even almost impossible most times. Not talk of 4/5.
Okay.
I'm a mathematician, so I know the mathematical consequences of what I'm saying. Then you now leave that place. You now go to the states. You now all the state houses of assembly. You secure that 4/5. No, it's not. We just want to empower politicians.
Okay,
if you ask politicians to do that,
yes,
they will tell you it cost them 100 billion. They will steal the money, marry new wives, and Nigerians will remain the way
that's a generalistic statement.
I said if we give them the money, it's a conditional statement.
Mr. President, how feasible is rewriting the constitution against these different positions taken by Senator Omar Agege, who is the Deputy Senate President and Chairman of the National Assembly Constitutional Review Committee, and then the position taken by Barrister Mike Ozekome, a senior advocate of Nigeria, on the powers of the National Assembly to rewrite the Constitution? Does it even make sense to think about rewriting the Constitution? Why don't you just go ahead making the amendments small, as they say? But there's also concern that the beginning of the Constitution says, we the people, and we the people never wrote the Constitution. Mr. President Agboka.
Thank you. What the Constitution said, we the people, and if the people are saying that they are not involved in the Constitution. Even if it was at the tail end of the military regime when that was written. You have the Supreme Ruling Council who actually gathered some persons to write that Constitution. I think that doesn't mean that Constitution need to be rewritten. It can just be amended because the process ongoing already supposed that the we has already come in. We the people are not involved. So if they go back to the National Assembly to continue with that we the people and sign it, put a new date, I think it is in order. Because the we, the people, who they say is an error, has not been corrected by circumstance and event, which is currently ongoing.
Absolutely.
It's repeatedly ongoing. But that event has already been concluded during the Ekuremadu tenure as the Deputy Senate President. So we are reaffirming the we, the people now that has been done some years ago. So those are not issues at all. We like too many legalities in Nigeria, and that's wastage of resources. Let us amend this thing, sign it, and it succeeds. And this argument here and there, theory here and there, that's why we are not going forward. We are too intelligent in Nigeria. And we're intelligent over little things and not intelligent over big things. And that's a challenge. I think what is going on currently by National Assembly should be supported by all and be embraced. And if you have anything significant to say, put it in writing and address it to the office of the Deputy Senate President, or put it on your Facebook. If you don't have any money to send your letter, put it to your Facebook. Send a mail to the zonal offices where they are doing the correspondence analysis of the Constitution. I think those opinions will be taken into effect.
Mr. President, if you were to rank key issues that should be addressed with these ongoing constitutional amendments, what would your ranking be, and what are the issues that are going to make those rankings?
I think the priority for us is this federal character issue. We should get this on merit. If my daughter is to get admission to Federal Girls College, she should compete and meet the minimum cut-off mark. I'm not giving somebody from Edo 70%, I give somebody from Zamfara 20%. So we should all go there and compete. That's very important. Merit should take over the federal characterism in the Constitution. But on the other hand, if it is to be sustained, it must be holistically enforced. It therefore means that you are taking 2% from Edo in the military must also take 2 persons from Zamfara. Don't take 2 in Edo and take 8 from Katsina. Are you getting it now?
Yeah.
So those constitutional provisions should, whichever way it wants to go, should be maintained, hook, line, and sinker. Our problem in this country is not lack of laws. Because what we lack in one law is also available in another law. But our problem is that of what? Implementation. And implementation is not generally from the state actors, like I said earlier. It's from the citizens. The citizens are so docile. The citizens are inactive. Are we getting it? So the moment, even this constitution, whatever brand of constitution want to give to us, either rewriting, amendment, whatever procedure want to adopt, we may not be able to maximize it in the next 2 decades because of the inactiveness of citizenship. So the constitution as it is now is not as bad as
when you say the citizens are docile, they are inactive. Yes. How do you situate that within the context of our conversation on the constitutional amendment? Is it in terms of the practice?
Yes, our citizens are not using the laws. We are not even talk, let us even go to constitution now. Let us even talk about all those laws that have been enacted. The Freedom of Information Act is there. The Fiscal Responsibility Act is there. They don't say that fiscal responsibility law to follow up with budgetary appropriations and all that. They are there. The budget itself is a law. It's on the internet. How many citizens will say, oh, they budgeted for 3 classroom blocks in the budget in Ugbeku? That 3 classroom block is not in Ugbeku. It's not in Ugbeku. That's all.
Okay.
That's all you need to do. Just go there and check. You don't need to be educated.
It's true.
The laws are there. The inactiveness, the docility of citizenship in Nigeria is a challenge. We have the population, but the population is not activated. So we don't need more laws. We need more training, more engagement, more citizenship participation to propel the system to get results. That's what we are saying.
Okay, I'll come back to you in a moment. Yeah, I want to get your thoughts on the rankings of aspect of the constitutions you think needs amendment in view of what is going on right now.
Personally, devolution of power. Devolution of power is top on the list for me. We have no need for federal roads. No such reality as federal roads should exist. State government should construct roads within their domain. The federal government should have no business constructing roads. There is no need for federal secondary schools in states. There is no need for federal government intervening in primary schools. There is no need for federal police. Policing should be handed over to governors. It should be removed from the exclusive list and put on the concurrent list. So much so that the federal government have their own level of policing and the state government have their own measure of policing. In fact, it's already happening. So this, and what I'm saying now is something that should happen. Then resource control. You cannot take money from here. You cannot take money that we use to buy beer here, VAT, that we use to drink beer in Edo, and take it to Abuja and share it equally with Zamfara that is doing Sharia and will not drink beer. Similarly, you will not take money from cow in Zamfara and take it to Abuja and share it and give to Edo, where we have refused to go to farm cow. We can do it. We are crying about Fulani every day. Cow grow everywhere in the world. We can have cows in Edo by Edo people for Edo people. But we will not do it. The government will not do it. The government will not encourage citizens to do it. Cow rearing is a very profitable business. If one cow costs 200,000 and you have 10, that's 2 million. You have 100, that's 20 million. You have 1,000, that is 200 million. Ordinary animals walking on the street, 200 million. No, we are not interested. We must wait for them to trek all the way from Zamfara to Benin before we can eat meat. So all those kind of impractical lifestyle that we have been living in this country has to end. So much so that everybody should take care of his people. If you tell the governors to begin to harness their resources, they know there's no food in Abuja anymore, they will be serious. And people will no longer be so interested in being governors. Only those that have the ideas to run a state we aspire to be governors. Because they know when you get there, you are not going there to enjoy. You are not going there to collect money from Abuja, pocket some security vote, and do what you like. No. You are going there to work. You must now look for a way to... In fact, that is the way God arranged it. Sonny Duke, you have to look for money to feed your family every day. Will you sit down and say somebody, your brother abroad should send money before your family can eat? No. So the governors, we are their family. They are our fathers. Speaking politically now, they have to look for money to feed us. They will not go to Abuja to collect money. So they must begin to harness things bottom down, bottom top. So that's my number one priority in constitutional amendment: power, devolution, resource control. Finish.
Okay.
To change everything.
All right, thank you. Mr. Press, let's just scale up a little bit on this conversation. Recently, there was a words between the federal government and Twitter, and that led to the ban of Twitter in Nigeria. This morning, I saw in the papers talking about $2 billion losses. The Nigerian Economic Summit Group is already warning. Other experts are warning. Then, of course, some diplomats are also asking the federal government to rescind its decision. What do you make of this, particularly with the reactions that have trailed it since it unfolded? I mean, federal government coming out to say the reason they banned Twitter is because of the misuse of Twitter, particularly during the NSAS protest. Twitter didn't do anything according to them. What do you make of this latest development and the reactions trailing it?
I think the first point is that there's a right of expression. And your right of expression on all frontiers. That's what the Constitution even says. On all frontiers, you can express. That therefore means that your expression, as we are doing, I'm expressing myself. I can also do that on social media, offline and online. Good enough, I'm one of a very good Twitter user, and my right has been distorted. And that's a fundamental breach of my expression, because my projects cannot speak for themselves. Now people are not hearing what I'm doing, and that's not funny. I will give you one funny testimony. Let me call it that way. I had my first international travel through Twitter. I was just on Twitter and I saw the opening, and I applied, and I was selected, and I traveled. Twitter. First travel that I did. And it's very strange that the government will say want to shut down Twitter because of the misuse. There's nothing that is not misused. Even currency is misused. Cow is misused. Presidency is misused. Do you shut down presidency because it's being misused by the appointees? The right to expression cannot be contained on the ground of misuse. Let me step in that a bit. Does the executive have the power to just shut down Twitter because it is misused without going to court? It's a judicial power to shut down any misuse. If you say it's been misused, then go to court and let the court interpret it. And if the court agrees with you, the court therefore now orders that the business be shut down and people be disconnected from communicating through it to the platform. It's an online platform, and it wasn't registered in Nigeria. People are just accessing it through networks and all that. So you cannot even shut it down. People are already bypassing it, and there's already a call for them to be tried for criminal breach, and that's funny. So the right to use Twitter is your right of expression, and shutting it down is an act of calumny. It is a suppression of the voice of the youth. It's not a battle against business. It's not a battle against colonialism. It's not a battle against internet. It's a battle against the youth. It is that the youth are speaking too loudly, and they may be shocked in 2023 by their voices. So it is earlier they tactically shut up the youth so that they can continue to.
Mr. President, this may just be mere speculations. This may be speculations.
It is an assertion. Don't be scared of what NBC can do. NBC is not God. I don't be scared. Let opinions be expressed. It is a suppression of the Nigerian youth. And we must all come out to speak against it. Shutting down Twitter simply means that the presidency went after the jugular of an average Nigerian youth. And that is not fair.
Okay. Let me pause you there. The ban came, we had the ban first before the reasons were advanced. And the ban came at a time where there was this semi war of words between the federal government and Twitter over the deletion or deleting of a statement credited to Mr. President on the state of affairs, particularly with all that is happening in the Southeast and all of that. I don't know what you make of the fact that the ban came and it was announced on Twitter, like we heard.
Well,
it was announced on Twitter, like we heard, and then we advanced the reasons for the ban.
Well, our federal government are filled with very funny people. But I will not excuse. The federal government is a very funny organization. The presidency is a very funny organization. Amorphous, funny organization. Very difficult to understand. But I don't have any sympathy for Twitter. I am not saying I don't have sympathy for Nigerians who use Twitter. I am saying I don't have sympathy for Twitter as a private business organization that has chosen to regulate but wants to be unregulated. Let me explain. It's difficult as a youth, as a young person, it's difficult for me to take this position, seeing even my co-commentator now, seeing how much he has said Twitter and social media is for the youth.
Life, yeah.
But I have sat down, looked at the pros and the cons of this issue. I made my position known even on my social media. I got a lot of backlash, but it has not changed one bit. What happened really? Issues have been going on in the Southeast. There was EndSARS, and we know how Twitter generated a lot of money through Bitcoin for EndSARS protesters. I was one of those who protested under EndSARS. Thank God SARS has ended. Government is now more careful with the youth. But look at the role that Twitter played. Our problem should be solved internally. Twitter mobilized money from across the world and sent to certain individuals that did not give account. We are young people, we should be able to give account. Those monies that were sent, nobody has accounted for them. Bitcoin is the most difficult asset to trace. There is no young person in Nigeria today that is not operating Bitcoin, including yours sincerely sitting opposite you. We all use it, we all have it. But it is difficult to trace. So they send those monies to who they like, and those people manage them the way they like. And look at the carnage that happened in Lagos. Almost half of Lagos was burnt down by hoodlums who hijacked this EndSARS protest. The genuine EndSARS protest did not burn anything. Hoodlums hijacked, burnt half of Lagos,
Twitter did it cost this?
They funded it. Let me come back to the main issue that happened this last time. Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of IPOB, the supreme leader of IPOB, that's how he addresses himself, let me address him such. Supreme leader of IPOB has been spewing hate, has been spewing anger on Twitter. On Twitter, I can print out some of the tweets for our people to see. He has asked that his supporters should kill policemen, kill soldiers, vandalize a government asset, burn down people's houses. He has called people a fulefus. He has called this country a zoo. He has said a lot of things that are unprintable on Twitter. Freedom of expression, yes, he has the right to say that. So I don't begrudge him for what he has said. He says it, and he has his followers who agree with him. So I don't begrudge him. On the other hand, Mr. President has said that he will no longer tolerate what is going on in the Southeast, and that those people that were not born during the Civil War, that did not see the carnage that happened, and they are now causing trouble today, he will treat them in the language they understand. Whether the statement is right or wrong, I don't want to delve into it. It's a topic for another day. Now look at the reaction of Twitter. Twitter deleted the president's comment and allowed Nnamdi Kanu's comment to continue to run. You see a private organization censoring a sitting president, removing his comment, and allowing secessionist agenda to fester in the same country. Now, let us not look at it from our aspect. Look at it as a country. If Nigeria is allowed to burn today, will Twitter suffer? The answer is no. Twitter is a private organization in the US that earns a lot of money from Nigeria. Nigeria is a market of 200 million people. And I'm sure people in Twitter headquarters will be crying by now because they know that they have lost a huge market. And that aside, having deleted the president's comment and this anger was advanced, they left Nnamdi Kanu until the federal government banned Twitter. They now deleted Nnamdi Kanu's comment. So I think they have taken the first step towards equity. He that must go to equity must come with clean hands. So if Sonny Duke is not allowed to say certain things on Twitter, Idris should not be allowed to say it.
Okay.
If the president is not allowed to say certain things on Twitter, Nnamdi Kanu should not be allowed to say it.
Okay.
So you must balance the freedom of speech. And you must not regulate when you want to be unregulated. You cannot have a regulating unregulator. That is what Twitter has put itself. It has made itself a sovereign. Now let me come down to certain countries that has banned Twitter on similar circumstances. Turkey did it. Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey did it. The Chinese government don't want to even use ear to hear about Twitter. And China is prospering. They have Weibo. They have TikTok. They have other social media handles that are now even taking over the American social media handles. And several other countries. So I want to advise Nigerians. We are 200 million people. If a young Nigeria comes up with his own social media today, and we all subscribe into it, we'll be making billionaire. Twitter, Jack, the owner of Twitter, is a billionaire. The owner of Facebook is a billionaire. We should have our own so that we make our own billionaire and keep our money at home. But because of this hunger for anything that is outside the country, you see us continually.
Is that the issue, or that we don't have them available?
We don't have our people.
They are not available here. This platform are not available.
Happening to even up to the clothes you wear. If you sew clothes in Nigeria, they buy it cheap. If you bring it from abroad, we buy it expensive. Okay. You make a Nigerian car, Innocent is making vehicles, nobody is buying. Our state governments are not buying. They are buying Toyota, they are buying Prado, they are buying Ford, all from the US and from the UK and from Japan. How are we going to grow as a nation?
Okay, let me pause it there. Pastor Press, I'm sure you've been following the line of reasoning of Idris Zakari. Does this resonate with you?
Yes, I agree totally with him in no respect, because I was about to get there.
Okay.
Honestly, the bringing down of the President Buhari's comment, I had a conversation with my colleagues in the office. We actually criticized it. It's wrong. Because the President's comment was a reaction to a situation, a peculiar situation, not just in the Southeast, but in all parts of the country. And if I was to be him, I would not even have spoken much, but I would have taken such a decisive action to bring a rest to such all the regions in the country.
Okay.
So those comments were misinterpreted. Are we getting it?
Yeah.
So I understand that part, that bringing down the President's tweet was very wrong, and that's the truth. But what the government would have done was perhaps to even assert its right to sue the organization. The AGF is there. You can sue a private business for taking a wrong decision and questioning the discretionary exercise of such bringing down of the tweets. And you claim millions of dollars from it. And I'm sure the courts in Nigeria will award it against Twitter. Are we getting it? So there are legitimate means of asserting your rights. In February this year, my organization's handle on Twitter was closed by Twitter without even getting in touch with me. I tried to use it, it's not working. So I wrote to them, said I shut down because of you have some followers that organic or inorganic follow. I don't understand what they were saying. That was on for 2 weeks. But I started compiling records to go to court. And I wrote to them. And I'm going to take it to court within 30 minutes. They restored me and wrote me and gave me that they're sorry. And I regret even sending them that.
You should have just gone ahead, just gone to court, and that would have made you some $1 million richer.
Yes.
Yes, a lot of litigants. I know for somebody in Benin who sued YouTube for showing a nude. He was dating a guy, so they broke up. So the guy he displayed the nude on YouTube. He sued YouTube. He left the boyfriend, who's a pauper, and sued YouTube. YouTube compensated with $100,000 after 2016 in Benin. I get it. So within 3 months of filing the case, they assessed it and they paid. They don't want to go to court, they paid. So it is a whole lot of money you will make if these international businesses infringe on your rights. They are not ready for anybody to drag their name to the mud. They are ready to compensate you. So if the president even seek the court option of asking for $50 million or bringing a tweet of a president down, they will pay. So asking them to shutting them down is not really a fine remedy for the breach of the right. And I agree that the president tweet, bringing the president tweet down was very wrong. The exercise of the discretion was very faulty.
Okay.
So the president's reaction to it is what we are saying, that is not correct. Because if you are restricting Nigeria from communicating on that platform, you are shutting down businesses. You are shutting down destinies. There are a lot of, I don't use Facebook that much. Because for me, Facebook is for your neighbors. I run an NGO and my work is an international global scene. So our update is internationally assessed. So if I'm going to use Facebook, I'm not going to be promoting my organization. So I use Twitter to broadcast what we are doing and all that. For the training and training. So So if you are going to be using Facebook, it's your neighbor, Jude, that will be seeing it. Your neighbor, that will be reading it. You're not going to make advancements. You can analyze it. Advancement that people make, elite progress that people make on Twitter is unmeasurable, very high. You can go, particularly those who run NGO, you have to use Twitter to do your promotion of your work for you to be assessed. Because if you are at local level, people will see your organization are running a face-me-face organization. For you to go to have a sound collaboration, you must put it on Twitter.
Okay.
So if you are shutting down Twitter, you have shut down all NGOs in Nigeria.
So the question now is, before we let you go, Barrister Press Aigbok, what is the way out? Because whether we like it or not, there's a logjam by virtue of the ban on the use of Twitter in Nigeria by the federal government. And that has been justified with a recent press statement released by the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed. So what is the way out? What is the way out of this logjam?
I know that the president will reactivate it. It's not going to be a long shutdown. It's going to be reactivated. He just to tell them that as a government, it's responsible enough to attack any business, whether local, international.
Okay.
We tend to disrespect Nigeria,
Okay.
and that's understood.
Okay.
I think it's not going to be long. But the lesson that we must learn is one point that my colleague Odisido made. We must have local investors who are already into social media. There's a lot of resources that China is able to accumulate for itself by investing in it.
Yeah.
If today the Minister of Digital Economy says that he has $3 million to share for three persons who can come up with social media, what they call little blogging on other sites.
Microblogging. Yeah.
They can come together and form their own. Because if we can have our own, we can have blog the whole of West African media space, online space. I can rest assured that we're going to make money for Nigeria and we're going to raise a lot of millionaires.
Okay.
So it is not something, even if we are bringing Twitter back, we must begin to look inward. Nigerians must come out with their profile and coding to see how they can break into such sector and we begin to use our own. I think that's my point.
All right. Thank you very much, Barrister Press Aigbok. It's always a delight to have you on the program. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
My pleasure, sir.
Okay, let me come to you. How do we get out of this logjam? What can be done to remedy the situation? Already, Twitter has responded by taking down Nnamdi Kanu's statement, which was something you quoted as very offensive. That action.
It's a first step. It's a first step. The law, whichever terms and conditions you have on your social media, and they should apply to everybody.
Okay.
Okay. NBC says don't say certain things when you are on air. Terrestrial TV and radio stations. You will not allow APC members to be saying it, and you will not allow PDP members to say it. It's not fair again.
Yeah.
So Twitter now is doing the right thing. It has taken the first step. I expect the federal government, which we have very funny people there, they should also take their own steps. My position on this matter is the patriotic position. My country comes first more than any other. Even if my country, look, even if my father, God forbid, is a mad person, my father comes first. I will not have any other father.
Absolutely.
My country, even if it's useless, comes first in my list of priorities to protect. I will not promote an American business over and ahead my nation. This is the kind of patriotic spirit that most of our youth don't have now. That is creating this kind of crisis.
Twitter recently moved its headquarters to Ghana.
Yes,
in Africa.
It's part of the insult. When people don't have respect for you, they will do certain things for you. I can assure you that Nigerians will gain much more respect on Twitter than we have had previously. Because of this incident, I can tell you that for free. They will gain much more respect. Look at the way, just a few days into it, they've gone to remove the tweet that was asking Nnamdi Kanu, asking his supporters to kill policemen, to kill soldiers, to bomb prisons. He said any soldier that enters the southeast will be slaughtered. They have removed it. Let us imagine if Abubakar Shekau, the leader of Boko Haram, was using his Twitter handle to advance these kind of things against those of us from the south. How are we going to feel? If Abubakar Shekau can say, burn Abuja, kill people, are we not going to say that the government is allowing him? So why should what is good for the goose is also good for the gander? Twitter has learned its lesson in Nigeria. I am sure it's beginning to adjust. It has adjusted. The federal government should also adjust. Because we are supporting them, that does not mean what they are doing is correct. They should also adjust. And I want to beg Nigerians.
Yeah.
This loss of capital we have been suffering over time. It must not be allowed to. As a young person, if you know how much Jack Dorsey is a young person. The owner of Facebook is just few years older than myself. He's a billionaire by the dollar standard, one of the highest in the world. The owner of YouTube is a billionaire. The owner of Weibo, they are all billionaires. In fact, they are already making billionaires. And you, by being very influential on their platform, you become a millionaire by the American standard, and even a millionaire by the Naira standard. What if we all this with a 200 million people? Look at what China did. Look at what China did. Today, Chinese apps are used in the US more than US apps. Very recently, TikTok wanted to ban, US wanted to ban TikTok because it was a Chinese app. Because it was taking over the American...
I mean, Zoom, for example, is taking over as, what's the name? I'm trying to remember the name. Okay, if I remember, I'll mention it. But Zoom is literally taking, even in America and other...
Even in America. And so
yes, Zoom is taking over Skype. I mean, it was Skype.
Skype is an American company.
Yes.
Zoom is not. These young boys, Uber, has taken over. Bolt, formerly Taxify, has taken over. Bolt was formed by a young boy in Estonia. And they are making... Today, there are more boat drivers in Benin. Look at all the cars on the road. There are more boat drivers in Benin than normal vehicles. And these young people, this young boy may not even have a car when he started. He sits in his room, uses his laptop, creates this thing, make billions on top of our sweat. And we support them when the government tries to take actions against them. If I want to criticize my government, I'll criticize my government, but not against it. And finally, you see what Facebook and Twitter and their friends did to Donald Trump and succeeded. A sitting US president, you were deleting his campaign video, deleting his tweet, totally messed him up. The guy lost the election, you didn't stop, banned him for extra 2 years. You have become a sovereign unto yourself. You have become law unto yourself.
That cannot be regulated by any other person.
You are the regulator that cannot be regulated.
All right.
A regulating regulator.
Thank you very much, Idris Zakari. And thank you, Barrister Prest Agbokhan, for joining us on the program. It's the TMI Monday. We'll take a short break. We'll be back with the rest of the interviews. Don't go away.